Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, Out of Voice Radio. So today, we're going to be looking at some very exciting news indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, a new set has been revealed over in Japan. Now, we don't have very much information at all, but we do have enough information to start making what I think are some fairly informed predictions. Plus, we have a rumour of another new set, which we'll have a quick look at in a moment as well. There's a new set coming out. It's called Fairies, and it's coming out on the 3rd of August in Japan, and it is going to be based around, shockingly enough, fairy Pokemon, plus grass and psychic Pokemon. We can also say that it has 50 cards, plus secret rares, and it was revealed by the lovely Autobot Tester on Twitter, who is a good source of news that I can then take and then analyse and pick apart like I tend to do. Now, of course, there are two mini-sets we already know that we're getting, or at least Japan are getting in the near future. Dragonstorm is coming out in April. We've been starting to leak a bunch of cards from that over the past couple of weeks, including Lance and Charizard just yesterday. And Champion Road is going to be coming out in May, and we don't know a huge amount about that, but we do know it's going to feature a bunch of cards which are effectively reprints from the EX era, and we've done some partial translations of a couple of GXs and had a look at free cards which by the artwork we know are going to be in the set. So we had a quick look at them, and that's a video I did just 2 days ago. And then just 2 months later in August, we're getting Fairies. Now, obviously, this is just a counterpart to Dragonstorm. Dragon and Fairy, well, Dragon are weak to Fairy, and they both came around at roughly the same time. I know not exactly the same time, but they're the kind of two newest types in the trading card game, so they are very much kind of a point and counterpoint. So it makes sense that if we get a Dragon focus set, we would then also get a Fairy focus set. And in the same way that Dragonstorm had fire and water Pokemon, Fairies is getting grass and psychic Pokemon. So, the good thing is, looking at Dragonstorm, given that these look to be fairly equivalent sets, we can make what I think are some fairly straightforward predictions. In Dragonstorm, all of the Pokemon were either fire, water, or dragon. The only exceptions were Swablu, who isn't dragon until it evolves, but we wanted an Altaria in the set, and Trapinch, who isn't dragon till he evolves, but we wanted a Flygon in the set. So it's fair to assume that Fairies will only feature Grass, Psychic and Fairy Pokemon, so if you're looking for any other Pokemon, you'll have to wait for a different set. Similarly, if we look at the admittedly still fairly small set list from Dragonstorm, we can see that there are 4 GXs, and in a set of about 50 cards, it's supposed to be kind of a fun side set, then having 4 GXs sounds about right. But more than that, we can go a little bit deeper. In Dragonstorm, we get 2 Dragon GXs, White Kyurem and Dragonite, 1 Fire GX, Reshiram, and 1 Water GX, Kingdra. Which again makes perfect sense. It's a dragon focus set, and we want 4 GXs, but there's only 3 types in the set, so you have 2 dragon, 1 of each of the others. So I think it's fair to assume that we'll be getting 2 Fairy GXs, 1 Psychic GX, and 1 Grass GX. I don't see why we wouldn't. I know we can't look at one set like Dragonstorm and go, well, that set down a precedent, Fairies is going to be exactly the same, but I do think that 4 GXs, 2 Dragon, 1 of each of the others, made so much sense in Dragonstorm, I think it's fair to assume it is going to be like that in Fairies. In terms of Prism Star, I'm a little bit less sure. Now, the good news is, we got 2 in Dragonstorm, and I think 2 sounds like a fairly sensible number for a set of 50 cards. And we know that in Dragonstorm you have Victini Prism Star, and you have Lance Prism Star. And we actually looked at Lance Prism Star yesterday. It's a crazy good card. Go check that video out. I'll pop a link to these in the description. Hopefully I shall remember. Now, in terms of getting 1 supporter, 1 Pokemon, I think getting a new Pokemon that's a Prism Star is probably guaranteed, and given that it was a fire type in Dragonstorm, it doesn't really matter. It's going to be one of the 3. I don't think we can really say which when we come to Fairies. As for getting a supporter Prism Star, I mean, you think Dragon Pokemon, you think Lance. So it makes sense that Lance gets a Prism Star. But you think Fairy Pokemon? Is there really a trainer in the Pokemon games that really comes to mind when you think about Fairy Pokemon? I'm not 100% sure there is, although if you think I'm wrong, do let me know in the comment section. So as it stands at the moment, I think 4 GXs, 2 Fairy, 1 Psychic, 1 Grass. And I think 2 Prism Star, but I'm not really comfortable making any predictions outside of that. The other thing we can say is that all of our trainer cards are going to be focused really clearly around Grass, Psychic and Fairy Pokemon. So if we go back to Dragonstorm, for Dragon Pokemon, we got Zinnia, we got Dragonclaw, we got Lance Prism Star, I've done videos on all of those, links in the description, and we got a reprint of Devoured Field. Okay, that makes perfect sense. For Fire Pokemon, we got a reprint of Kiawe, we got Flint, we got Weller Volcano Park. Now, technically, that's actually a stadium that means that Burn doesn't go away on a coin flip, which isn't technically for Fire Pokemon, but it's Fire Pokemon that burn, so clearly it is for Fire Pokemon. And we're getting a Blaine supporter, though we've not actually seen that yet. And for Water Pokemon, we got a reprint of Aqua Patch, we got a reprint of Brooklet Hill, and we're getting some weird rubber ring thing, which again we've not seen yet, so we have no idea what it does. All this goes to show, in Fairy Rise, we should be expecting a number of supporters, all of which will help Fairy Pokemon, Psychic Pokemon, and Grass Pokemon. Now, in terms of the new supporters and stadiums and all we might get, I mean, it's pretty much impossible to guess. Maybe you could have guessed Weller Volcano Park for Dragonstorm, but Flint and some weird rubber ring, did anyone really see those coming? The one prediction I will make, Lush Jungle. That's kind of grassy. That's in the Pokemon games. It's where you meet Mallow, who's kind of a main character. I think maybe we might get a bit of the old Lush Jungle as a stadium. That is my prediction. So what cards might we see? What of these trainer cards might come out? Well, for Grass, maybe we get a reprint of Ether Paradise Conservation Area. But then again, that also helps Lightning Pokemon. It's not just for Grass. Maybe we get a reprint of Gardenia, but we didn't get Lana in Dragonstorm, and Gardenia's very recent. And you can be quite sure that we won't be getting a reprint of Forest of Giant Plants because it got banned. One fun thing to note, and I don't really think we can draw much into this, but in Dragonstorm, all of the reprints were from the Sun and Moon block. We got reprints of Devoured Field, Kiawe, Aqua Patch and Brooklet Hill, all of which are actually from the Sun and Moon block. Now, in terms of Psychic, I don't really know. Maybe a reprint of Dimension Valley, but that is an old card, so I don't think that's going to happen. And in terms of Fairy, we could see reprints of Fairy Garden and Fairy Drop. None of them were from the Sun and Moon block, but I really don't think we can read too much into that Dragonstorm only reprinted Sun and Moon block cards. That is pretty much a coincidence. Now, we don't actually have even a dummy image of Fairy Rise yet. Now, Autobot Tesla's theory, and I think this sounds incredibly sensible, is that this set is going to feature a Pokemon, which is going to be coming in an upcoming movie, and Pokemon are not ready to reveal that Pokemon yet. Although, spoiler alert, it is definitely going to be a Fairy Pokemon, which means we might actually have a new Pokemon ready to be revealed in the very near future. Maybe not, but you never know. It would be quite fun. The other rumour we are hearing, and it is just a rumour at the moment, we have no confirmation of this whatsoever, which is why we're just popping it in on the end. Apparently there's going to be a Sun and Moon 7A, which presumably would make Fairy Rise Sun and Moon 7B, and it's going to be focused around fast action Pokemon GXs. Now, when I think fast, I immediately think Pheromosa and Tapu Koko, but we've actually had GXs of both of those cards already. Although if anyone's wondering who the fastest Pokemon is, it's Deoxys Speed Form, so maybe a Deoxys GX. You never know. Mega Alakazam's pretty fast, Aerodactyl's pretty fast, Beedrill's pretty fast. So you never know, ladies and gentlemen, maybe we get some GXs of those kind of Pokemon. That would be kind of fun. Although with Dragonstorm and Champion Road coming out between Sun and Moon 6 and 7, and presumably this new one and Fairy Rise coming between Sun and Moon 7 and 8, that is going to give us over here some huge sets. Or we're going to have some mini sets a la Double Crisis, because otherwise we're going to have Pokemon sets of well over 200 cards, and that's not what we've done in the past. We've already got too many cards coming between Champion Road and Dragonstorm. If there are another 2 mini sets coming between Sun and Moon 7 and Sun and Moon 8, that would also present a little bit of an issue, so prepare for some mini sets. Not a lot of known information in this video, ladies and gentlemen, for which I can only apologise, because we just don't know the information. But I think I've given a pretty good idea, and I think I've given some pretty sensible predictions, and like a good teacher, I have shown my working. And now, it's over to you guys. Tell me your predictions. What do you think is coming in Fairy Rise? Tell me what you want to be coming. We know Grass, Psychic, and Fairy Pokemon. Tell me which of each of those types you want to see coming. Tell me what you want to see as GXs. Go nuts! But be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWossy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, etc., then head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio. But do also make sure you check out Wossy Plays. That's where you find some Dragon Ball Super and video game action. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.